Hi guys, Colleen, welcome to the Resident Path here. I just wanted to tell you about a book I've finished reading called The Axeman's Jazz by Ray Celestin. Now, firstly, I want to warn people who don't like crime novels or serial killer novels. This is a crime novel about a serial killer, and it is actually a fictional novel based on a real serial killer. So if you don't like novels like that, you don't have to watch the rest of this. But if you want to know more about it, I will read the blurb and tell you what I thought of it. But also, you should know that I didn't realise, but this ends up being a series. This is the first book in the series, but I don't want to spoil it for you, but two of the characters in the first book, get together and go on to solve other crimes in the series. I didn't realise until the end, until the last bits where they tell you about other books they've written. So, but I don't want to spoil which two characters get together and keep solving crimes, so I won't spoil it for you. But from reading the blurbs of the other books, I realised that you can read each book on its own. So this is The Axeman's Jazz by Ray Celestin, if I didn't say that. So I'll read the blurb and tell you what I thought of it. New Orleans, 1919. As a dark serial killer, the Axeman stalks the city, three individuals set out to unmask him. Detective Lieutenant Michael Talbot, heading up the official investigation, is struggling to find leads and is harbouring his own grave secret. Former detective Luca D'Andrea finds himself working for the mafia who needs to solve the mystery of the Axeman and is every bit as urgent as that of the authorities. And Ida, a secretary at the Pinkerton Detective Agency, stumbles across a clue that lures her and her musician friend Louis Armstrong to the case and into terrible danger. As Michael, Luca, and Ida each draw closer to discovering the killer's identity, the Axeman himself will issue a challenge to the people of New Orleans: play jazz or risk becoming the next victim. The author Ray Celestin was really good at conjuring up New Orleans in 1919. All his descriptions were fabulous. They were great. I really liked that. I found some of the characters at first a bit hard to get into. I had to sort of go further into the book to really like some of the characters, but my favourite ended up being Lewis, who was based on Louis Armstrong, the actual jazz musician. So if you don't know who that is, please go look it up. He was a fabulous jazz musician. So it was based on him, and it was based on his life because the same things happen. Some of the same things happen in his life that happen in the book, like he lived with his mum, then his grandma, then back with his mum, and things like that. So, and he was a musician, in the book as well. And I also like the musical aspects of the book and the voodoo aspects of the book. I really like those, and the description of the bayou and all that. I really liked all of those things. The funeral procession at the beginning of the book, I really, really liked. That description of the funeral procession was fantastic, and it really brought 1919 New Orleans alive. So I thought that was great. I also like the character of Simone. I like they had short chapters. Each chapter was only a couple of pages long. Even though I got invested in Lewis and Ida a bit more down further into the book, I wasn't as invested as I wanted to be in a character. I like to be really invested in a character sometimes. It was also a bit slow in some places, but the further you got into the book, the better it got, and the more action happened, which is what I like. What else was I going to say? Also, at the end, I was left with some questions, and in my crime novels, like my fictional crime novels, I like it to be all wrapped up in a neat sort of bow, so I don't like having questions left. I did like that there was, because this is based, if I didn't say, of a fictional novel on a real serial killer that was called the Axeman in 1919, who told people to play jazz or die. So that I found that interesting, but it is a fictional novel, so obviously Louis Armstrong, the musician, didn't have anything to do with catching the Axeman, but he was a character in this book. But the Axeman was a real serial killer, and there are like a couple of original letters from the actual Axeman in this book. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Overall, I did like the book. I really liked the way that they brought New Orleans alive. As I said, I wish I was more invested into characters, but I did get invested into Ida and Lewis, sort of the further into the book I went. And as I said, I loved the funeral processions and all the dancing and the voodoo and the bayou and all that in it. So I actually ended up quite liking it, and I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 cauldrons. That's The Axeman's Jazz by Ray Celestin. I hope you have a glorious day and do whatever resonates within your soul. Bye now.